All right, happy Monday, beautiful humans. Today we have the pleasure to welcome back, actually, Marie and Martin Richtsfeld, and going deeper today on embodying harmonious relationships as sovereign beings. So, as the mission with Embodied Impact is really looking at entrepreneurship, but then also at, how do we show up in our most intimate relationships, really from a place of wholeness. It's really beautiful to have you two here again today with us as well. And so Martin and Marie are deep in the Akashic record space, in ecstatic dance, working as Akashic record business advisors, facilitating yoga journeys. And I feel most importantly, what really resonates with me, like how you two are showing up, is the divine union, the sacred relationship that you're facilitating. And the last time we spoke, we kind of tapped into it a little bit, like how you met and sort of like having this origin journey in some way. So what I would love to do today is to really get into like what sovereignty actually means to either of you, and how you're bringing that into the relationship that you are cultivating as this cosmic union.
First of all, thank you so
thank
much
you for having us.
Tobias and Massimo for having us, and hello to everybody who is watching live and maybe in the recording afterwards. Do you want to start answering?
Ladies first.
Ladies
the
first.
Sovereignty.
So, Tobias, that's a beautiful question. What does sovereignty mean to me in a relationship? And as you also mentioned before, I'm very much into the Akashic records and connected, like really trying to connect with my heart and checking in with myself and with my guidance, what is aligned with me and my path and our path. So taking this into account, sovereignty to me means really following my own intuition, even though we are in a relationship, in a beautiful relationship, but not relying on his input or his opinion or thoughts. Even though I ask him a lot, like about anything, what I do, like any project or whatever. I love to have his perspective on it as well. But then it's very important for me to come back to my heart and to my own intuition and ask myself, how can I integrate like also his input, and does it align with me and my values and my intuition? And often it does, and it even broadens my horizon, and I can accomplish something with much more confidence. But also sometimes it happens that what he's saying is like, no, it doesn't feel right, and I had initially a very clear feeling and I want to follow this feeling. And then and he honors that. Like I feel like deep respect is very important. Now we're at the relationship, but coming back to the sovereignty, that I know I can trust my intuition so much, and also trust him so much that he won't judge me for really also making my own decisions, so I can live my own life together with him in a union. So that was my input. And yours?
Just a few, like taking what she said, I think there's a very important difference between an opinion and perspective. So what I always try to give her is a different perspective on something that she asks me, and not necessarily my personal opinion, because it's just one more perspective. But I try to see it in a holistic way, and not necessarily from my side, as if that's possible at all, but to like really like more kind of asking her, like, have you seen it from that perspective? Have you seen it from that perspective or from this perspective? And I think I'm very creative with that. So I think there's an important difference between that, just to be aware of that, I would say. And sovereignty for me means, basically being able to live my own life without necessarily, we do things together and we love doing things together, but we always have our parts in what we do, and we have this beautiful we complement each other in what we do. So we are each still sovereign, and it's not I'm telling her something or she's telling me something, but there's this complementary aspect in what we do together. And so we can still in whatever we do be our own sovereign being. And I think that's very important. There is no competition going on in that, because I know what I can do well and she knows what she can do well, and we just bring that together without whatever you can do is better, whatever I can do is better. There's no judgment in what we do. And I think that's a very big thing in general about sovereignty, is you cannot really compare sovereignty. There is no way to compare yourself to anyone else, because even with twins, they found out twins that are raised the same are going in completely different directions, identical twins. So even that, it's there is no person the same as the other person. So the whole comparison that's happening in our world nowadays is just killing sovereignty, and we need to get rid of this whole comparison thing in order to fully live up to our sovereignty. And
one of the principles that I really think is very important is the idea of facilitating each other's freedom, and I can see you both do that within that sort of space of sovereignty. So what I'm curious about is, how did you get to that point? What were the things and the tools that you guys used to actually be able to be so surrendered to one another that you can have that discussion, that you can just sort of lay it out and still have that very powerful self-identity that's still there, and trusting that space enough that it's not smothered by the other, if that makes sense?
I think it's two components, maybe more are coming. No matter who or how or what I am at this point in time, when there is a discussion, I can stand fully behind who I am and what I am. And this might change in the future, but at this point in time, that's who I am. So I can bring my full self to the table. And during this discussion or this conversation, this might change because I get new insights, but I still fully embrace it. It's it's a walk. And yesterday we were hiking, and I realized balance only happens because a lot of muscles in our body are just pushing us left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. So balance is not or forward and back. So it's not something fixed. It's something that's balance only happens through movement all the time. Through constant movement, balance can happen. Even if we lie, I guess, muscles kind of keep us more or less straight. So coming with our full sovereign individual into a discussion and embracing and honoring that on one side, and on the other side, not taking anything personal. So whatever anyone else says is their viewpoint is and we can reflect on it, and we might even integrate it into who we are or what we are, but it's just from their viewpoint, and it might come from the heart in a way that it's like a mirror of something that we don't see, or that we we hide, or kind of a shadow-like thing. Or it's like really, I have the feeling, or what I experience sometimes is when couples start fighting, they're just fighting on these little, I don't want to say weaknesses, but these little trigger points. Let's call it trigger points. Mm-hmm. So they're just pushing the other one's trigger points. And what we try to do is, like, whenever you come out of a discussion, you should come out stronger, but stronger in your self-confidence. And I think that's a very, important part on that.
I might add something to that. To come back to also the freedom that you mentioned, to give each other freedom in a relationship, brings me back to the moment about 5 years ago when we got married, and we designed our wedding, also like the whole ceremony by ourselves. So like the official minister, whatever you call her, she maybe
licensed
minister. She was maybe talking for 5 minutes, and we were talking for the rest of like 1 hour. And we also did some social experiments kind of with our guests. And one was that we asked our guests to hold each other's hands, even though there was a stranger maybe sitting next to them. So they were holding hands, and we told them, like, really squeeze your hands super hard together. So that's what they did. And then we told them, that's how it feels like if you don't give each other space, and if you just take maybe too much of your own time and don't really dedicate time also to another person, or you project beliefs onto another person. That's how it feels like to consume somebody. And then we ask them to still hold hands, but to have like just a slight grip, so you can feel each other, but not like press so hard. And then we try to explain that's how we see freedom. So we can hold hands with each other, but as gentle, that we can still feel the support of each other. Like, especially me as a woman, or I guess for us women, it's important to have a man that is like protective and strong, where we can really rely on, where we can feel safe. Also for him to know that I'm there for him no matter what. But if he needs some space because he has his crazy minutes right now and he just needs some privacy, or
I'm a Leo.
Yeah, you are a Leo.
I'm allowed to have crazy minutes.
And he has his crazy minutes. Then I also give him that space, and I don't take it personal. And he always keeps reminding me, like, that's not about you. I am crazy right now. It has nothing to do with you. So yeah, having this beautiful trust, and not holding on too tight, and not trying to own like the partner, but to live in dedication towards each other. I feel it's a different approach, like really honoring each other instead of trying to own someone.
And what's also interesting, when you do the holding hands and you make it stronger, it's like one is pushing stronger and the other one is pushing stronger. So you have to push strong again. So there is like a never-ending greed for pushing stronger. But if you relax and if you just let it flow, then there is no need to push. It just flows. So this experiment, I think, also showed this like beautifully. Like, you can try it yourself. It's like there is never a strong enough, but when it flows, it just flows.
That's
good.
Beautiful.
It's actually a really fun exercise, because it's also, I remember when we were doing a Changa ceremony. It's like DMT-based plant medicine, and at one point I was really grabbing like the hand of like my partner really tightly, because it felt like I need to know that there's somebody there, because it was just like crazy. Like, and I mean, when you just brought this up, it's like, wow, you know, like it really made me reflect on, do I hold like loosely, or am I more kind of really wanting to know that there's like support there? You know, to what degree am I actually going through this dynamic process of like holding more tightly or holding more loosely? And I think it was interesting what you said about balance as well earlier, that it's really a dynamic process. And it's actually never ever balanced, but it's always actually the way back towards balance. Go off balance to the
way
other
side, to the other off. Yeah.
I feel what would be interesting for me as well is like when we speak about the whole piece of facilitating freedom and sort of like the sovereignty of each person. What's really the role of the relationship then in this sense to facilitate the freedom? Like how far are you leaning in or leaning out? Like, because you've spoken a lot about basically creating space for one another, and you know, when the crazy minutes arise, let the person have the crazy minutes and not take it personal. But does the other person like highlight, hey, you're having your crazy minutes, or are you like totally self-reflective and being like, hey, I'm having my crazy minutes, I need to, you know, go do something to live that through, and then I'll come back when I'm in a more balanced space.
What was your question now exactly? Can you just...
Okay, the question is really, I think it has more to do with like self-reflection, you know, and using that crazy minutes example. So when one of you has like that crazy minutes, like, are you fully self-reflected and being like, oh, I'm actually like not acting from kind of like my highest self? Or does the other person say like, hey, you're a bit out of alignment, go do something about it?
Might be both, I guess.
It's like in a relationship, you are always a mirror for the other person, I feel like. So even though maybe he doesn't realize that he has his crazy minutes, he will probably know as soon as he wants to talk to me, because I instantly can feel that like the energy has shifted, or that he is like really in his pain right now, or whatever. I can like instantly feel it, as even though he's maybe not in the room, and in the room next to me, I can feel there's something that is not quite resonating with me right now. And he instantly knows, like, by just, maybe I don't even need to say a word. He just knows, okay, hey, I have my crazy minutes. Maybe I need some time for myself.
And I think it's also like the crazy minutes is like, we know from cats, like whenever someone during the day, they just start running around like crazy. And this can happen, or what also happens is that it's kind of a slow process. Like stuff has been accumulating during the day, and then you're just like completely wasted at the end of the day. So it's not like from 1 minute or from 1 second to the other, but it's kind of a gradual process. And for that, like the self-reflection is, I think when you have this feeling like within a minute it changes, it's easier than when it like slowly creeps in. And then it helps more like when the partner is like, what's going on with you today? Are you not feeling well? Or like when I, which normally doesn't really happen, but just as an example, I'm like really like bad with her, or I'm just yeah, or not nice to her, let's put it that way. Like verbally, or it doesn't really happen.
No, that's a bad example.
Yeah, but that's just like I'm really mean to her. Let's assume that, which never really happens. But then I would like immediately self-reflectively know, okay, that's something. Or if someone triggers me, someone says something and it triggers me, then like this self-reflection mechanism. And I heard like an emotion, if it's going through the body, the emotion itself lasts only like 1.5 minutes, and the rest is just something that we put on top. And the emotion is long gone. So we kind of we suffer in our own pain that we create in our mind that has long already passed. So it's it's yeah, interesting.
You both have a very interesting way of harmonizing. It's beautiful to watch. And I guess because I work with a lot of couples, there's always one that is, I guess, being held to account far more than the other. So what happens when one partner isn't really aware of what the other is needing or wanting, and the other is holding that person to account? How did you get to that point of, I guess, really hearing what the other is holding us accountable to?
The first thing that comes to my mind, if I may start,
Please.
is I think we didn't really know how it was called for a long time, but now we recently found a name for it, and it's basically called authentic relating. So, and one easy thing is let's assume that's a microphone, or that's the talking stick. So I have the talking stick, and I voice my whatever's on my heart, and she listens, and then we change. And there's an easy exercise. She might just reflect what she heard from me, and then she says whatever she wants to say, and then I can reflect what I heard. If there's a lot of which normally doesn't really happen between us, I have the feeling that sometimes there is a miscommunication between couples. So someone says something and the other one understands it completely different. But if during the conversation the reflection is happening, so the other first says, okay, I understood that you said blah, 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 whatever it is. And then the other one knows, well, that's not what I said. Or yes, that's what I said. So the reflective part is very important, I guess. And holding, also voicing, if you need something, just voice it. And I think voicing something in whichever area, and I tend to also use sex as an example. Voicing what you need is very important, because and then you can grow through that, you can grow with that. But if you don't voice what you need, it won't happen. The partner is normally not to that extent, might not be able to know, to smell, to feel what you need. So voicing it, I think, is very important. But voicing it from the heart, not in a way like, you didn't do that and blah, 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 sondern that was German, sorry. but I would like to try this or that, or I feel that I need this or that. How can we approach that? It's like a completely different way of also. I think that's one more thing, is coming from how I feel. Like I feel like this or that, not you're the bad boy or bad girl, and that's why I'm feeling like this or that. But it's not, when I feel like this right now, what can we do about it? So it's always coming from, because at the end of the day, we are like in here, and the only way we can experience life is through in here.
In the body.
So it's good to voice it from that side and not from the other side.
You point out something very important, and that's that we're not mind readers. We never really know what's happening in the other unless we do voice it. We can feel them, when we do harmonize, like you're both harmonizing right now. There's a greater connectedness that you're able to sort of feel the other person. But what I always find is that people speak from a fear space. And especially in the couple, that it's, if I have fear within me, I can't give voice to what I want to get across to my partner, to address those things like my needs and wants and desires. Has it ever happened to you where there has been that fear response? Like, I don't know if I can get this out, and it's stuck there. How do you navigate past that?
I would like to give an example here. First, to answer your question, it's so not that I can think of something recently that I thought I can't voice something. Maybe it was in the past, but right now I feel like one of our really basic foundations is open communication and the trust towards each other. And maybe where I sometimes have doubt if I can share it with him is And I guess it's like it's a normal thing for human beings to like when I have a dream, and it's like a dream having sex with another man. Yeah, this can happen. It's just like, yeah. And then I wake up and I'm like,
I envy her for that.
What?
No, just kidding.
And
I
then
don't dream.
when I
like
wake
that.
up, I feel like there's guilt inside of me. Like, why do I dream that? And why with this man? And like, how does he suddenly come into my life? And I'm very confused. And then sometimes I thought, like, can I even share that with him? Because maybe it's a person that we both know. And that I usually, like, in my conscious state would never have these thoughts, but somehow in the dream it comes up. But I thought, like, no, there's no reason why I should hide it from him. So even those dreams, I share openly with him, and it's a beautiful energy that then kind of creates itself between the two of us, because he can feel that I trust him so much that I can share this really awkward dream with him, and you maybe also build your trust in me, because I come with this very vulnerable state towards you. So yeah, these are my thoughts. I know it was a weird example.
But I think it kind of, yeah,
There's no weird example. I think it's actually a beautiful example, because I mean, I think if it's something that's very personal to you and you struggle with that, like, you know, you felt that destabilization, but yet you felt willing and open enough to express something like that, knowing very well that you're going to be received well, just highlights the level of safety that's between you both.
Yeah, thank you.
I think on the safety front, and an interesting thing I'd love to come back with is you spoke about triggering earlier, you know, like hitting kind of the trigger points. And like in how you're navigating this, are you actively sort of like circumnavigating each other's trigger points? Or do you treat your relationship as a vehicle to basically experience the pain that's underneath these trigger points and like release it ultimately for good?
I think we had a very funny way of like, whenever there is tension and whenever I could feel tension in her, that was a very easy way to make her laugh.
Why they say was?
Because I say was because I almost never need it anymore.
That's really interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
So I'll quickly share what the thing was. So whenever she was like running around and like, not necessarily phically, but like running around in her head and
or feeling triggered.
Yeah, feeling triggered or something. And I always kind of made fun that she's like a chicken running around. And so I came to her and said, and as you are laughing now, she was also. So that kind of immediately flipped the situation. And I know it's not working with everyone. Some would like punch you in the face, but it worked with her. And I think through that we could work through these points. And I think you're much more aware now.
Now I'm much more also centered in myself. So like every time something triggers me or he triggers me when he says something, he can feel that instantly. And I also voice it now. I say like, baby, you just really triggered me. And then he's asking like, what exactly triggered you? And then maybe I need a moment to reflect, like, why is there suddenly this tension or this anger inside of me? And sometimes it's not obvious, but he somehow asks the right questions for me to explore that. So we take then some minutes or moments to figure out like what is underneath. And I feel like this technique helped me so much that I don't really need the Bogog anymore.
And I have the feeling, they finished or?
For now, yes.
I have the feeling that this is where the we might not be able to read the other's exact thoughts, but when asking these questions, we know like or we feel how the person is feeling. What's the right question to allow them to grow? And I think that's where like the connectedness and the feeling helps a lot. And like in general with whoever we are communicating, and some might be open, some might not be open, but I think like being able to tune into that space and then asking the right questions, and it's not necessary for me to know any answers, because she will anyway answer for herself the way it feels aligned with her at the moment. But yeah, I think that's why like this connection and being able to feel the other is like super important also in these situations.
Raising the point of our questioning style, I think is super important as well, because a lot of the time most people will go, well, why are you feeling like this? And Marie, like you're saying, you potentially probably don't know how you're feeling at that moment.
Yeah.
And I always find that how-based questions, how did you get to that point? How, how did things unfold for this particular moment to present itself? Gives you a sort of a different frame of reference to actually think, well, actually, what were the patterns that led me to this place? Rather than why. I have to give you this why answer as to why this is concretely like this.
Right.
And it's very, very interesting to see how you're both aligned once again. I think it's beautiful to watch.
Thank you.
10 years of work.
Experimentation.
11, 10 and a half years. Excuse me?
Yeah. Of experimentation.
Yes,
Yes.
I love experimentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that even better.
Wait.
Oh.
That was us?
Yep.
Now we're back. Okay, whatever happened.
10 years of experimentation, definitely. Yeah.
And maybe on the experimentation front, I think that's really beautiful to look at it from that perspective. Because you brought up this point earlier where it's effectively kind of the victim state versus the sovereign state, where it's like you make me feel like this versus I am feeling this way right now. When you came into your relationship, were you both coming from the like I am feeling this way, or did you have this phase of basically feeling enmeshed in some way, being like, oh, you made me feel like this, and then kind of blaming the other for one's own state? And have you grown out of this? Or have you been, in a way, quite aware that it's about you and then the other person is just a facilitator?
Good question.
Yeah.
That needs some reflection. How do you?
It's. I was so young when we started dating. I don't.
And we both have been in a very different space, like seeing life. I was working in a company 24/7 basically, and my whole lifestyle, or our whole lifestyle, was completely different. So I cannot say how exactly we've been, but I know that we grew into that togetherness over the years. And we luckily grew into the same direction.
Yeah, I feel it's important to have like a common mission as a couple, even though everybody has like his or her own mission and purpose. But like imagining a couple where the perspectives on the world are so different, then it might be also really hard to align those two lives in a life in a union. So also over the years for us, it has shown itself more and more like what our mission together is, or what we and it can change, of course, but right now we phrased it to the point that we say everything we do is based on reconnecting humanity back to the hearts. So for me, like the work that I'm doing with my Akashic Records readings and womb healings, but also what he's doing with like his privacy and security. Wait, private, that's like more the IT part.
Okay.
It's also reconnecting people back to their hearts, and then
to sovereignty.
And then of course with being a gongster with the gong.
Now I can show the gong.
and ecstatic dance, and then having our sessions together with the sound journeys. It's always our anchor point, and I feel it's so important. Otherwise, the energy gets so far spread out, and it's hard to grasp a person or a couple. But if you can contain the energy, and that's what we try to have, like, to be also grounded, like not always somewhere up in the air, and not being able to live like a human life. we found it's really important to, because the spirituality community is growing, but it's important to have a grounded spirituality where we really are in our bodies, and where we understand that this is our vehicle for this lifetime. So it doesn't make any sense to check out and go into higher dimensions. Yeah. So the shared mission is also very important, I feel.
I'm sure there's going to be a lot of people that sort of question, well, my partner and I don't share a common mission. Which, I think equally on the other side, it doesn't necessarily have to be completely aligned, as long as I think it's supportive and respective of the other person's, I guess, desire, where they want to go in life. Have you found that there was a lot of difficulty getting to that point, or was there just sort of this natural alignment that you both went, look, this is what I'm wanting, come together, and now we create? Or were there sort of stumbling blocks to get to that point?
I want to touch on the first thing you said before, like it's not necessarily that I like whatever feels right. Like our relationship is just one out of
that's just
of a few billion, so it's just our thing.
Yeah.
And like common, I guess, like any relationship has some touching points, whether it's like kids, whether it's they love on the weekend kayaking or whatever they do, or base jumping, I don't know, or they just have amazing sex, which is also a good reason. So whatever it is if it feels aligned for both, I think it's perfectly fine. And in like for us, I don't feel like the question is what this stone to stumble over is, because like we had our own things, and like we moved to Bali 3 years ago, and I had my quite a few downs. Like Mama Bali is like really testing you if you want to stay there. And it was like, do you want to stay on Bali? You have to prove that you really want to stay. You really want to stay. So I had quite a few weeks or months of like turmoil, I would say. But this was more personally. We still did our sessions together, and we still like harmonized in our sessions. And so we both went through various stages of questioning and aligning, and questioning and aligning. But I have the feeling that with what we did together, it was pretty much aligned. How do you feel?
Yeah, I also feel that way. Sometimes it's really hard for us to put something into words, because we are just so used to coming to being and to being able to get along really, really well. And I think I also mentioned it last time, but we never fight, we don't really know what it's like to be like super aggressive and blaming the other, because this somehow doesn't exist in our world, and I guess we are really lucky with that.
But we also think in general we don't do it towards anyone else. So I think it's kind of a
personality trait.
of
maybe.
a more kind of a natural thing of like, how do you approach conflict, for example, and you can like
So
burst out
personal philosophy, basically.
Yes. I think that the biggest issue in life I have with myself, it's like anything else is fine, it's just with me. Yeah.
And that's also an interesting statement, because I feel it shows actually a lot of the self-reflectedness that you have, where it's like before you externalize your shit and blame somebody else for it,
Maybe.
you're actually really taking ownership. And it is quite interesting to then see that you're basically not fighting in a sense, because rather than making the other person the perpetrator, you realize, man, this is like a conflict that I have within myself, and then you potentially go and ask for help rather than making the other person the one that makes you feel whatever it is that you feel. It's quite lovely. It's nice to hear that, man.
Thank you for saying that. I think I got it now. So
Yes.
that really helped me understanding like the first gate is like within me. So, and if it doesn't feel right to go out, it kind of processes within me. And yeah, very interesting. Thank you for voicing that.
I always see that as a responsibility to self and a responsibility to the couple. And that's where I love the concept of us both being 100% responsible for the couple. A lot of people, unfortunately, are 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And that's where I think that blame component comes in, or that argument component comes in. It's, if I see my partner suffering, that's potentially her stuff that she has to deal with, right? So when you see each other suffering in those moments, like Martin, you were talking before about that up and down, how did you relate to him in that moment, Marie?
Why are you laughing?
Because I have another example that I will say after you answered.
I
Sorry to put you on the spot.
I have to say, like, these ups and downs that he has, they are pretty recent, like the last few years. So in the beginning of our relationship, when he had like still like a stable job, like 9 to 5, and like being really fully part in the system and so on.
7 to 11.
7 to,
was my job, not 9 to 5, but 7 to 11.
Sorry, that's right. He had some
anyway,
extra hours.
That's the past.
So he still had like a certain stability where he, I guess, or sorry if I'm saying something that is not
good.
right, where he also didn't question maybe too much, because there was like his set day. And since we tapped like more and more and more into independency and sovereignty and really walking his path and my path, these ups and downs, they kept like getting more frequent. And of course I didn't know in the beginning how to handle that, because I didn't know that he has that. And in the beginning I took it personal. I thought like it has something to do with me, until he said like, no, it has never anything to do with you, never. And I realized when this happens, I just really need to, first he needs a hug. So I don't need to say any words. I just hug him for maybe some minutes, and this already uplifts him a lot. And then I just give him space, because in these moments, I don't know, I wouldn't have the right remedy or words to say, because he just needs his own time. He needs his privacy. He maybe needs to skip some appointments and just go outside or listen, like put his headphones on and listen to music and be fully immersive with the music and process all these emotions. And since I know that, it's totally fine for me to give him that space and to honor that he needs it, and to not feel rejected by him, which I also maybe felt a couple times, because I thought, oh, what what we planned just now is not important to him. But no, it's he always put yourself first, right? And that's what he does. He puts himself first. He tries to be in balance, in harmony with himself, and then he can come back into our relationship. Is that right? Do you feel like that as well?
Yes. I think it's when you go off the beaten path, like off the mainstream. With the mainstream, it's easy. You just plug in and you play, or that's like the plug and play way. But as soon as you are like stepping into sovereignty, there is so much to explore. There is so many possibilities, so many experiments that it's like a roller coaster, I guess. So it's kind of a natural, and people deal differently with this roller coaster. And I feel for me it feels really like a roller coaster, but I guess like eventually I will come out much stronger and able to share and to help and to nourish sovereignty through that. And the reason why I was laughing was because we're going to Greenland soon.
Yes, we're going on
first 2 weeks of September, and she's always freezing. I mean, we have like 22 degrees here now, and she was freezing the whole day. And I was like, you have to walk through your own shit. I won't warm you any second in Greenland. You have to walk through that. And so
I'm so used to having him like take me and warm me if I'm freezing. And today when he said it, like, no, you need to freeze, I was like, are you crazy?
No, I didn't. That's very interesting about authentic relating. I said I didn't say you need to freeze. I said I don't warm you. So that's two completely different things, and I think that shows like what authentic relating is important. So I need to tell you, I didn't say
I know
that you have to freeze, but I don't warm you. It's I guess a shadow you have to walk through.
Yes. So that will be very, very interesting. Besides like going onto an expedition in Greenland, what I've never done before, which is, I guess, already a really big adventure. And then also knowing that I'm super sensitive when the temperature drops below 20 degrees. And I really tried to work through that already in my breathwork teacher training and like doing ice baths and all of that. But let's see what comes up in Greenland. Like, why? Maybe I don't know. I will figure it out.
Also, the ice bathing like really pushed you to something that was a big release. So
yeah. I love ice baths. That's a really interesting thing. I love like if I can control it, like jumping into ice cold river or something. I love it so much because the feeling afterwards, like this refreshment and being energized. But like being constantly in a cold weather it's not my thing. So
that's why we go back to Bali eventually.
That's why I love the tropical countries. Anyway.
Amazing. Yeah, Martin and Marie, thank you so much for stepping in here today and sharing about how you are really embodying harmonious being. And I mean, even just at the end, just like harmony in action. I was like, okay, it's really great. I mean, you're really modeling that path of, how can two people come together and support each other in the quest towards sovereignty. So yeah, for anyone who wants to get in touch with you more, we've put all the links to the amazing work from like digital freedom to your Akashic work into the descriptions.
To natural contraception.
Natural contraception, indeed. If there's anything else you want to discuss with, otherwise we'll close the space.
Thank you so much for having us. And I always love your input. And like when we talk to you, it's like our horizon broadens even more. So that's really...
And it's also this beautiful like harmony that works together. I mean, relationship is like between two, but also like between a community or between. So I feel this harmony between all of us here. So it's beautiful to witness. And I can anyone who's listening, authentic relating, I think is a very big stepping stone towards sovereignty and towards communication, towards like honest and heart-centered communication.
It's beautiful that you bring this up. It was highlighted when we were at a festival, like everybody sitting naked in the sauna, and there was this kind of talking to me about authentic relating. Yeah, it's beautiful that it has come up again. It's definitely an area that I want to explore in more depth. So, thank you for being here.
And thank you everybody who was watching.
Yes, thank you for everyone who's watching, and
happy to hear from anybody who wants to connect.
Definitely.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Lots of love.
Lots of love.
Beautiful week.
See ya.